Mr. Daughtry.
Here.
Mrs. Fano.
Here.
Mr. Grau.
Here.
Mr. Palma.
Here.
Mr. Petrosino.
Here.
Mr. Rappaport.
Here.
Ms. Zuckerman. Here. Dr. Bodrak.
Here. Pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the sunshine.
The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of the Act, the Montville Township Board of Education provided a public notice of this meeting, which included the time, date, and location that was posted at the Montville Township Municipal Building, all Montville Public Schools, the Montville Public Library, the Montville Township Board of Education Administrative Office Building, the district website, and advertised in the Daily Record, the board's official newspaper, on April 30th, 2023.
Dr. Warman.
Yes, just want to start with some good news. I shared with the board about a week or so ago the goals, updating the goals for the third quarter. The progress continues, and we've made good progress on all 5 of the goals. They are mental health, facilities, learning opportunities, safety and security, and the long-range enrollment plan. So that was shared out. Also good news were the ratings. I'm also very cautious about going out with rankings and ratings and reporting them out. However, good news is good news. And Montville is consistently ranked by various agencies that are out there as a great place to live and a place with great schools. Last month, Niche reported out that the Montville Township Public Schools scored number 4 in the best district in Morris County and 34 in New Jersey. So that was great. Overall, we received an A, niche grade with teachers, administration, academics, clubs, and college prep. So something to be proud of. And then overall, Montville Township was also noticed as the 66th best place to teach in New Jersey. So very proud of that. Along with that, there was another ranking that came out by the state. And New Jersey school rankings or ratings that came out is something relatively new, but then it got a little disrupted because of COVID. They just came back to this. But more than 2,300 public schools are out there serving 1.4 million students around the state, and they compare the schools to each other. And these comparisons have varied over the years. They look at graduation rates, they look at state test scores, they look at the growth of these scores, absenteeism, and other things. But if you remove the county academy schools, just keep them public school to public schools, Montville Township High School was ranked 3rd in the county. Lazar was ranked 6th. And the elementary schools varied, but they were all in the top 30 for Morris County. So again, great things for our schools, and it's just great to be recognized that way. So, and the last thing is Teacher Appreciation Week was last week. The PTAs, the MEF did a great job recognizing them, and it's just an outstanding job that teachers do. The faculty, the staff, and everybody that makes it all work, from the custodians to our maintenance guys, everybody. So it's great to recognize them. It's unfortunate it's only one time during the year, but day in and day out they're doing an incredible job for our students, and they were all recognized. So hats off to all of them. And that's my report.
And that's it for the presentation?
That's for my report, and then we go into my presentation. Yeah, you're really beating me down.
I am.
Mark, are you ready? All right. So you've seen several presentations. I'm going to try to summarize a lot of the progress we've made so far over the past couple of months. But first I want to thank Ms. Slunt. She's been a tremendous asset, tremendous resource for me, crunching numbers, adding the numbers, and helping with the demographics and all that, and making sure my numbers are correct when I don't carry the 2 and stuff like that. So I want to thank her. Ms. Marinello's done an incredible job with our social media, working with this presentation you can be seeing tonight, and just helping getting the message out. And we're going to be relying on her heavily in the next couple of months as well. Ms. Woodring and Dr. Shorter have been excellent team members with me, And this is going to be a great team effort over the next couple of months, working with the board to try and get this message out about what we need to try to accomplish over the next couple of months. So tonight I feel is the end of phase one. So phase one was investigating the enrollment challenge that we have ahead of us, the pre-planning. We brought in different experts to talk to the board and give us different presentations and reports. And then the board unanimously decided to submit the plans to the state, and that's what we're waiting on. The state is a little behind in some of their work, but we're hoping to get a lot of these approvals over the summer, and then we can move to the next phase. So with your approval tonight, I would like to move to phase two, which would be to start going out to the community, start gathering information, start having conversations with people, finding out what the questions are, try to answer those, and then I can report back to the board over the summer with whatever information we gather, so that the board can make an informed vote about what the questions will be moving forward and what the official tax impact will be. That would be phase three. And that phase three would be sometime over the summer, going into the fall, talking about the referendum and informing our community. Phase four would be the actual vote, and then if that vote is successful, then we go into phase five, which would be the actual construction. So that's the layout for the next couple of months. Slight delay.
No, is it on?
Now it is. All right. So for more than a half century, there's been 4 values that have made the Montville Township Public Schools very successful. If you think about it, we've been very innovative. This has been made possible with personalized instruction, small groups, and small class sizes. Students need it and parents prefer it. This builds a strong foundation for our students and addresses any issues that we have with the students early on in their education. It's led to outstanding results. If you look at the high test scores that I just mentioned, the test scores overall, we have a near perfect high school graduation rate. 94% of our students go on to attend college, others attend the military, and others have successful business careers. And we are consistently in different agencies are reporting us out with rankings and ratings, as I just shared, year in and year out. So it's showing that it's working over these past couple of years. Security, something that we've brought up at these board meetings. Security is something that's in the forefront of our minds. We've addressed this over the number of years. We've hardened the outside of our buildings. We have a great working relationship with our police department. They're in and out of the buildings on a daily basis, and we enjoy that relationship. And we've done a lot of things with this, with the applications, with the different security cameras, and all the different things to try to make our schools safer. We're almost completing the Lazar security vestibule. You'll see that right outside the front main entrance. We have another one that we're going to be building at Cedar Hill this summer, but we need to address the other 5 buildings, and we're going to need a little help, and that's what the referendum would help. We get a little state aid to help with the security vestibules, to help with our security issues as we move forward. The facilities is, again, something that we've done a great job over the number of years. We have terrific teachers and principals and administrators. They've made building level decisions to evolve with the changes of our education. Regarding space, we've gone through as far as we can, and now we're at the point with the elementary schools that we have to add on to be able to accommodate the different changes that are going on. But beyond education, we have been caring for our buildings, which is very good for the taxpayers and very good for the community, because these buildings need some love and some care over the years, and we have to invest in our schools. Fiscally, we just had a presentation by Ms. Lunt 2 weeks ago about how fiscally responsible we've been over the years. We've been staying within the parameters set by the state. We've been staying under the 2% cap and doing a great job while still delivering a quality education to our students. So what the bond referendum does, though, it unlocks a lot of the millions of dollars that are open to us from the state. This money would come in. We're paying this money every year to the state, and other districts are pulling this money in for their school districts. And it's a chance for Montville to be able to take this money back and help us out and move forward and make our schools even greater. So this slide is the one that pretty much tells the whole picture. Now, the high school and the middle school can absorb the ebb and flow of the enrollment issues that we're talking about moving forward. However, if you look at here at the enrollment numbers, you'll see the dotted line at the bottom there, and that's the capacity of our elementary schools, about 1,500 students. Currently, we're 111 students, so we're over capacity by over 100 students. Next year, starting in September, we're going to be at 149 students over capacity for what these elementary schools can absorb. So we're still going to educate everybody, we're still going to do a great job with that, but it just shows you that yellow line is going to continue to increase. So in 5 years, we're going to have about 300 students over capacity. That's not including the new 4 housing developments that we've been talking about. That's the white line at the very top. So if you look at that white line, we're just going to add another 150 students based on statistical forecasting, which Dr. Grip came here and presented. You're going to be looking at over 400 students over capacity for our elementary schools. And that's the challenge before us. Just to share a different way to look at that, since last year, we've been up 30% in the elementary schools with our student rate. That averages out to about 9 new students per month, or if you want to break it down, almost 2 new students per week. Now, a majority of those students come in over the summer, but it just gives you a picture that we are continuing to grow. And why is that? It's because we have the great schools. We have these agencies that are showing that we are a great district. We have a great faculty. We have great students and parents. They're moving to this town because it's a great town, but it's also because it's also a great school system. So people are attracted to them. And that's why the developers are also building these developments. They know people are going to be coming in and occupying these places. So this will continue to grow over the next several years. So this puts us at a turning point. So Montville is at a turning point that, we want to continue to stay on track with what makes Montville attractive, and we need to keep that attractive growing. So in 2017, if you think back, we did a referendum, and you made progress in the pressing needs at that time. You did roofs, you did bathrooms, media centers except for the high school, you did gyms in all the schools, you made energy efficient systems throughout the district, and you also brought in solar panels, just to name a few of the accomplishments. But now we have a different issue that's before us. So we're at a turning point because of the current enrollment levels continue to grow. And we need space to be able to house these students and educate them in a proper format. We've brought 4 different professional organizations before the board, and we shared out that information. We brought in statistical forecasting, which did the enrollment projections. We brought our architect in, we brought the finance team, and we also brought our bond counsel. And all 4 have helped us reach this conclusion that we're sharing tonight. So what we're trying to do is, what's put this to the forefront, as I was just saying, is the enrollment issue. It's put this issue in front of all of us because it's at the front burner of the projection of where we have to go. And we have an opportunity to benefit from all the bond borrowing opportunities we have from the state. Every day, our teachers educate, inspire, and empower our students, but space has become an issue in the elementary schools. This picture shows you we have music in the hallway in 2 of our elementary schools right now. We have music also on a cart. As other things, we make these adjustments. We have partitions that divide small group instructions to make a classroom into 2 or even 3 learning spaces. And the noise, as you can imagine, goes around, over, and under these learning areas for our students. The target class size people have grown accustomed to is now being threatened. If you could think about, we could probably add 1 student or maybe even 2 in some cases to a lot of the classrooms, but we're looking at 3 to 5 students in each elementary school, pushing the limits, the upper limits of our board policy, and in some cases we're going to exceed that. Small group instruction, as I shared in the past, has grown considerably. So we have roughly the same amount of students that we had about 10 years ago, but we're using the space differently. We brought in about 65% of our out-of-district, we've increased our in-district students by 65% that are special ed. We have a number of kids, English language learners. We have small group instruction rooms that have increased by 50%. We've added more faculty members to provide these services. And these areas, the areas needed to provide it for these students has continued to grow. So why the referendum? So as I was just laying out, the first 3 bullet points there show that these are the present challenges before us right now. Space, we're beyond what the capacity that we have right now, and we want to be able to keep that attractiveness of Montville. Security, we've done all we can right now without having to go to alter all the other 5 buildings. We need help with altering those other 5 buildings with those security vestibules that I just mentioned. And we need more improvements. We have an opportunity to get some state funding for our HVAC, which is our heating and cooling systems in the school, make them more efficient and better ventilation in the classrooms. And we want to renovate some of these small group instruction rooms, like I just talked about, or the picture that's up there on the screen, to a more friendly, more academic type of learning environment for our students as well as our teachers. But the biggest thing we want to do with this referendum is we want to put the vote in the hands of our townspeople. We want the parents, we want the community members who are eligible to vote to decide on the future of our schools. So sliding to the funding package, and this is just all estimates for right now, but I want to underscore that the board and the administration has been very transparent with everything we've been talking about. We've been talking about the enrollment projections for the past 4 months, the budget numbers, and the process. And even though we don't have all the details finalized just yet, and they will be finalized this summer when we receive the information back from the state, but we're continuing to move forward in this process and letting you know so you're on the inside of what we're trying to decide here. The referendum will be approximately $70 million, but remember, state aid will reduce that number, and we'll get those state aid numbers this summer. The board can vote this summer on 2 questions, maybe 3, but right now we're posing it possibly into 2 questions about what we should be doing in front of the public. And the funding package is being strategically designed to keep the tax impact of the taxpayers in town as low as possible. So what can we do? We can take some money from our capital reserves, which is kind of like our savings. Money that we've saved over the years, we have in like a savings account. It's called capital reserves, and we could use some of that money to help offset the cost of this referendum. And we also have some debt that will be declining and then going eventually off the rolls. That will also help with lowering the impact on the taxpayers. So what we're looking at, and this is all pending, and these numbers will change, pending state aid commitment, the local tax impact will be approximately around $410 per year. But this is not going to hit us for 2 more years. This is going to be in the 24-25 school year moving forward. I just want to emphasize that. That's not for next year at all. This will be going forward, and this 410 is still just an estimate of what we're looking at right now. This number will be firmed up later on this summer, and we will be communicating all that information to you as we move forward. So, what we're doing is the bond referendum would let us get the work done more quickly than if we had to go to our capital reserves and do this over a number of years. And it allows us to capitalize on the state aid that will be available to us. And we want to keep our eye on the prize. So if you think about in 2025, that seems like a far way off, but it really comes very quickly. When you think about a 2-year construction timeline, you need to put this vote out there pretty quickly, then get all the projects done to have students in these new facilities by 2025. So what we're looking at is the preliminary plans are down in Trenton right now. They're looking at this. They'll give us the information and finalize everything this summer. We're shooting for the September referendum date, but if the state doesn't get us the information in time, then we will have to move to most likely a December target date, which will give us more time to inform the public of what's going on. But most important, what this is about, is this referendum empowers the taxpayers to be able to vote on where they want to see the district go in the next couple of years. So, thank you very much, and hopefully we'll be moving to phase 2 tomorrow. I'm going to pass off to Ms. Slunt, and she's going to be talking a little bit more about some of our tax impacts and the information.
I probably could do this better if the board does have specific questions as to how the magic number came to be. I think that probably would be a little more beneficial to you all than me just talking to you.
I think that's a great place to start.
Okay, do you want to start?
Yeah, well, like, what was the formula used to get that 410?
I can't hear you, John.
What was the formula used to get that
So-
410 number?
If you flip
Are we doing the presentation?
To which one?
to the
No, she's not.
one with the...
Oh.
So when we do a calculation like this, there are a lot of different elements that are part of that. One of the largest ones, which is the one that's still outstanding, is how much funding would we be able to secure in debt service aid from the state of New Jersey. So we have evaluated that, and that piece was adjusted, as you had heard from the bond council, when he was here, that they're not funding at 40%, which was a number that had been thrown out earlier. The funding really is only going to 34%, and so all of those adjustments were made in the calculation. Additionally, the tax rateable base of the town is part of that calculation. And then we look at places where we can try to help offset the impact of the taxes. Those being capital reserve, the savings that we have, as well as the interest that we earn off of the proceeds. So when we receive the money from the referendum and the sale of the bonds, we then have the ability to invest that money, and we invest it until we need it. What we did with the 2017 referendum is all the interest that was earned during that period where we received the money up front, and then we're waiting for the drawdown schedules to hit. And what that means is that when we receive the money, we don't have all of the vendors in place yet. We have to go through the bidding process, we have to get them up and running, and so the drawing out of the money is slow in the beginning, and we have most of it available to us to earn interest. And what we did in 2017 is we took whatever we earned each year and we automatically appropriated it through board resolution to offset the tax impact of the bonds that would have to be paid back, or the interest that would have to be paid back in future years. So those two resources can help lower that 410, and the more information that we have as we move forward may adjust that number to a lower number than what's being presented now. This is just an estimate.
Was the pilot data that our attorney provided us used?
That was not used. What we did do is we did do a little bit of structuring of the bond sale. We have the option of coming up with different ways how we want the rollout of interest being paid off and principal being paid off. That also helped to lower it, but no, not the pilots.
Would that increase or decrease the projection based on what we heard earlier in closed session?
I don't think it would have any impact.
Yeah, take this one.
Thank you. So for us laymen, $410 a year with a home assessed at $535,000. So you have a home, $1 million home, they're going to be paying $820 and so on. My question to you, is this my taxes have never gone down. Everyone's always goes up. So my question is this a one-time payment, or is this $410 or $820 for the rest of someone's life? Do you know what I'm saying?
That amount is the amount per year, and it's for the length of the bond.
And how,
25 years.
so a homeowner will be paying $410 or $820 for the next 25 years, beyond the school impact taxes.
Yes. And what we would do is as we did with the last time, we would try to mitigate that through the use of other funding sources. But I can't quantify that because I don't have a crystal ball to know what interest rates are going to look like and all those other things.
Is there a time when we will know that information before we vote?
Yeah, we'll probably be able to hone in a little bit more, but again, we're talking about estimates because I don't know, honestly, neither does the financial team. We don't know what interest rates are going to do. They're projecting, even with this, we're projecting a 4.25% on the bonds. It could be 5, it could be 3. It depends on what happens 18 months from now. And that works both ways, on both the revenue as well as the expense. So we will continue to try to hone these as we move forward, but some of this is just from what is going on in the markets.
So we're not locked in a specific rate on the bond? It's
No,
adjustable?
When it sells at a locked rate. The problem is, we can't guess what that locked rate is, because we don't know what the markets are gonna do 100%. We can rely on experts to try to project that on both the revenue earning side as well as on the expense side, but we won't know until we sell. And it's a bidding process. That's the same as the bidding process we do on other things. A bunch of banks will come to us in a bidding arena, and they will put up, and it's whoever's got the best rate.
Didn't we refinance?
And yes, we did. Right now, we wouldn't consider refinancing, but if interest rates were to drop below 3, in terms of cost, we would then think about refinancing our existing loan, which is the 2017 referendum.
And while the percent on the bond is fixed, interest that we would earn on the money could
Yes.
be variable, which would help lower the
Exactly.
tax impact in 2, 3, 4 years from now.
Correct.
Well, I think we had a lot of experience with the 2017. And so from that experience, what happened with that as far as the tax impact goes?
When we did this presentation, well, I wasn't here. When this presentation was done for 2017, the estimate was $100 per assessed value at the time. And keep in mind that that referendum was a $17 million referendum. And in the end, through the process of the 6 years since that event occurred, there was never a year when it was actually 100. Because every year we contributed back into the fund in order to go and provide some relief. Now, some years, it's a very tiny relief. Honestly, this year, it was $900. It was whatever I earned in interest every single year. But in those opening years, it was significant, and it did help to alleviate the impact.
We would not be selling the bonds until,
More than likely, we would not be selling the bonds until probably sometime around this time next year, if it were to pass in December.
so it doesn't affect the taxes for this year? per se,
No,
Or next year?
or even next year, because usually the way we know, that we structure it where there's a lag. You don't start making payments on it until it's been fully issued. You start with making interest payments. We wouldn't start making principal payments until we had some amount of the structures built, and then we begin our payments on principal.
Yes, Dave, thank you. I guess my concern is, when do we really know? Because that's the question I know I will receive. And we need to be as honest as possible with the voters.
But we are being as honest as we
No,
possibly
so,
can.
right.
No, but once we know.
Once we get everything this summer, you'll get your exact numbers and all that stuff. You have that.
I don't think you'll know what the exact rate is going to be until you sell the
Exactly.
bonds. You can't
Yeah.
sell the bonds till you pass the referendum. So if you can't decide, well, we're gonna sell bonds, or the rate's too high, I don't wanna vote for it, that's great, but in order to sell the bonds, you need approval on the referendum to sell them. So what Katina, I think, from what I'm picking up, is you're crystal balling as well as you can with all of the experts, and nobody knows at this time, other than it should be less than $400 a year less than $400 a year based upon capital reserve, interest, et cetera, et cetera.
Right, unfortunately, exactly. I mean, if you're asking for the best guess right now is we're estimating at 410. We know that we can contribute additional funding, just like we did with the 2017 referendum. And the rest is just estimates. We would be projecting numbers, we would be projecting how much we could earn. We wouldn't be able to actually say for absolute, I know this is how much the number's gonna be, because we just don't have the ability to know what would happen 18 months from now.
But it should be something fairly close.
I don't know.
I think. We think. All right, do you have any other questions?
No, thank you.
Michelle?
A couple things. So, I mean, what's happening now with the state is also very important to us, because you estimated, a certain amount of aid, but I know that we've put in potentially to appeal for more. So obviously, if we get more aid, then that tax impact will go down. So that's a good thing. And then the other thing is, I want to be clear just to make sure I understand, like, I'm gonna just, I guess, say what I understand we would be voting on tonight, which would be moving forward this idea, understanding this estimated tax impact, but it's not actually saying, yes, we're definitely doing the referendum at this point. It's giving Dr. Borman the permission to go out and talk about it in more detail to the community, at all aspects of the community, to get their input so that when we do have to vote yes or no, we're more educated as a district, as a board about it. That's my understanding of what we're looking to vote on tonight. If it's different than that, like, if I'm not understanding it right, I just want to make sure.
You're correct. Your
Okay.
official vote would not be until you have to officially decide on the wording, after we get all the information back from the state. And then we'd have to solidify our numbers of what the impact will be and stuff like that. And then that would most likely be this summer. So tonight is not that official vote for that, but you will be giving me permission to move forward to start talking to our community about this referendum.
Let me just go through it just in terms of state aid. So right now, we have confirmation from the Department of Education that they did in fact receive all of our projects. They are being assigned to a reviewer. That reviewer will then go through the educational specs that the architect put together, and they have our data in terms of what we are expecting or what we are applying for in terms of state aid. Inclusive in that is for them to make a educational assessment as to the multi-purpose areas, the large instructional spaces that we've proposed. We have put those in for no aid, expecting no aid. We are hopeful that that is an area that we might get some aid. The way that the statute and the guidelines work is that we sit here and wait until they eventually get back to us. And when they get back to us, what they will issue to us as the official completion of their review, what is called a preliminary eligibility cost letter. And what that says is, you have requested $70 million worth of projects. We have evaluated all the different elements. If you remember, we submitted 24 different applications. We even looked at all 24 applications. And this is how much we would assess would be the debt service aid amount. At that point, the board has the ability to appeal that decision and go back and send our architects back and say, listen, we don't agree. This is the reason why, and there's a give and a take. And that usually lasts about a 30-day period. And then the final cost eligibility letter will come out, and that is the final number. That is the number that the system allows the board to evaluate and decide what they're going to do next. So then we would reset all of our numbers again with that now set amount of debt service aid, and that would be the number that would actually be going on a ballot for the request for the community to vote on. And the expectation is that we're probably looking July, August for those letters to begin to come in.
Thank you.
I'm just still a little bit confused on why the revenue from the new projects, and if we have increased amounts now that we think we might get a little more than we originally thought, why wouldn't that lessen the tax impact?
That's the town.
Let continue.
Right, are you talking about the pilots?
No,
I
no.
am talking about the
Yeah,
pilot.
no,
May I help on this?
yeah,
Yeah.
the town is not us.
So the pilot revenue doesn't come to the board, may never come to the board.
Understand.
It goes to the town and a little bit to the county. You can't count on it because you may never get it. And if you get it, it's just another part of the same tax base that you've been getting all along. I don't know that it would really increase anything, frankly.
Yeah, no, I'd like to make one other point. Katine and the financial team have worked very hard to be honest and brutally honest. I mean, these are not numbers that I want to see. I don't want to pay more taxes. No one wants to pay more taxes. But they are being honest with us, letting us know that they are not finagling things. They are not saying, oh, well, we could get something, so let's put it in there. You know, the last thing we want to do is present numbers that are not true, that may never be true. So she has tried her best, along with the financial team, and I commend her for this, to give us exactly what she thinks is the correct answer, without trying to play to what we want the answer to be.
Can I just jump on that real quick? I think the first part of Dr. Gorman's presentation is something that as we get to the nitty-gritty of the numbers, we really can't discuss one without the other. Because the reason we're here talking about this is not because anybody wants taxes to go up. But also, nobody wants class sizes of 30, 35 kids. Or when you try to sell your house, everyone's saying, I want to move to Montville because they have class sizes of 30 kids. So I feel comfortable furthering the discussion because I think it's a necessary discussion that this community has to have.
I don't remember hearing that we would have classroom sizes of 30 or 35 kids.
Well, if you do nothing and leave it as is, and you see the growth in the number of kids, and you just do back of the envelope calculations, if we got this many more kids, 350 over capacity, and we divide them up amongst the elementary schools, and you look at what we have right now, I actually did this the other night. I sat there and I looked at each school, and yeah, we were running, some classes were running up to 32 kids in a classroom.
Elementary?
Elementary.
Because there's no room.
Because there's no room. So if you also assume that, okay, it's not going to be all the classes at that size, there's going to be variation. But our average size is going to be around 26, okay, which is the upper limit of our policy. So if you have variation.
That exceeds our policy.
Yeah, but if you look at the variation, we will have classrooms 32. 3 sections in an elementary of 32. That's a lot of kids. And some of the kindergarten classes, what are they going to be like? 25, 26, 28 kids in an elementary or in a kindergarten classroom? That wouldn't be fun. That'd be hard to manage.
So you're looking for direction tonight to? You're looking for approval tonight to, as Michelle said, or someone said, Dave, maybe give the superintendent time to start his talking to people about what we propose. We'll wait for the final eligibility letter from the state, which will tell us exactly how much the referendum will be, how much state aid we're getting, et cetera, et cetera. That should come time, August, July, August, somewhere in that range. So this is preliminary to get everything moving, to get the ball rolling. The only thing that could change probably would be the financials. Okay? Is that
that would be
basically
correct.
summarize it?
Absolutely, correct.
And
All right, let's vote.
I mean, we embarked on this journey primarily because our enrollment was going up for really no other reason. And so I think we absolutely can't lose sight of the driving force for the referendum is to keep our schools where they are or better. I mean, nobody wants to see class sizes, having the board waive class size policy because there are too many students. Nobody wants to see trailers. And it's my understanding, and from what I've understood for the past 5 months, is we're doing this because enrollment is, we're getting more children. Enrollment is growing, and that's why we took our first step on this journey. And this is, at this point, the numbers are part of the journey, and allowing Dr. Gorman to present the information to the rest of the community is the next step.
Tom, if we were to move forward, would your presentation to the community mimic tonight's, or would it be more open in the sense as, exploring all the options and not just the one option of doing everything?
Yeah, it would be presenting the information you have seen tonight, maybe some other slides that I've previously shown the board, but it would be more about trying to see what questions they have and things like that. So if questions come up, then I'll be able to gather that information, answer whatever they have, but then also bring those questions back to the board.
Are there no other questions? Okay, so we will move on to public participation for items on the agenda. We have 2 items on our agenda tonight. One is the addendum that you all have, which is to allow Dr. Gorman to start holding focus groups, community outreach, talk to the community about the referendum, get their feedback, hear their concerns. The other one is the approval of the calendars for the 2023-24 and the 2024-25 school years. So I would like to open this up for public participation now for items on the agenda. If anyone has any comments, questions, please come forward to the podium, give us your name, address, and your comment. And I don't see anyone. I see people out there, and you're all sitting behind the camera. But, okay, I think, could I have a motion for both items, for the addendum and section J?
So moved.
Second.
Oh, sorry.
No,
Sorry.
one at a time.
Sorry, I apologize. We're going to separate them. The first one is the addendum. Motion for the agenda, for the addendum.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Roll call vote.
Discussion.
Or discussion. I thought we had discussions. Is there any further discussion on this? No, seeing no discussion?
Just with regard to J.
No, we're not there yet.
Oh, I thought.
We're just the things we've been discussing already for a while. Okay, any further discussion on the referendum? No? May I have a roll call vote, please?
Ms. Zuckerman?
Yes.
Ms. Zuckerman?
Yes.
Dr. Cordolino?
Yes.
Mr. Daughtry?
Yes.
Mrs. Fano? Yes. Mr. Grau?
Yes.
Mr. Palma?
Yes.
Mr. Petrosino?
Yes.
Mr. Rappaport?
Yes.
Dr. Modrak?
Yes. Okay, may I have a motion on section J, the two calendars?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, discussion? Anyone like to comment?
It just,
Mike?
okay. Okay, I know it's really a question, more of a discussion item. First of all, we're amending the calendar to add some religious holidays. First of all, I think that's a great thing. I think it's long overdue, and I know the board is supporting it. The only thing I would say is that as we add holidays, we're taking away some flexibility. Right now we have, I think, 4 snow days for next year and the year after, some other years it may be 3. And I only say that because you get to spring break, people do make plans, they have vacations, prepaid things, and if we're going to, and as I think we should, approve the holidays so people can celebrate their holidays without your fear of having to miss class or do science or anything like that, I would hope that as a district we'd have some little bit of flexibility and compassion for somebody who says, gee, now that we've gone down to 3 snow days and we had the hurricane in October, we had no electricity for 5 days, and now we're having to do these give back days, that people will say, take your day, don't tell your family you have to give up your entire vacation, because we don't want division in the community, and I would not want to see something where there's resentment saying, gee, because we gave this, now I have to give up my prepaid vacation. So all I'm just asking for is just a little flexibility, just something to keep in mind in the future, that's all.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, when this happened in the past, I don't believe there was any penalty for the students, if I recall, because I was there.
Oh, not for
There
the
was no penalty for the students.
Right.
They took off. There are a lot of classes were only half full, and the students were not penalized for taking off those days because they had prepaid vacation plans. Also, I think there was an agreement where you had to
Everyone was
prove
taken individually.
Yeah, everyone individually. Yeah.
It's not automatic,
Yeah.
and when people
You had to demonstrate.
people when make the arrangements in April, hopefully they'll know by January if we're running out of snow days, if there's a hurricane like Sandy again. So it's time for them to make a change, but if they want to take the whole week and for some reason we're open the whole week, I don't see the administration being flexible for 5 days extra salary for various people.
For the teachers. You're talking about the teachers now.
Huh?
I think you're talking about the students.
No, actually, I'm really talking about the teachers.
That's what he said, that's what I read, it wasn't the kids, he's worried about the teachers, which is fine. But I think we've had it in the past, human resources and superintendent handle each case. Where do you go, you're gonna put more asterisks on the calendar? If this is if you have a trip to Hawaii, but I think it's great the way the calendar, the committee did a great job, I think.
I think that the administration will take it into account, look at each case, and use their judgment. I mean, they're professionals, they know how to do it.
Call the roll.
Okay, did you, Mike, you want to say something about the calendar committee?
Yes.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to thank the administration for patiently going through all of the questions and issues that the subcommittee had. We had a very long, almost hour and a half discussion on it, and we did talk through many different issues, and did find some issues and which got corrected in the latest version of the calendars, which is great. And as Mr. Palmer has pointed out, there are still some open issues that we left that we knew were not perfect, but we know that no solution was going to be perfect. And I think that what we got to with the calendars is a very good place to be, and knowing that we'll need some flexibility and adjustments as future events occur and happen. But I think we're in a good spot with the school calendar, and I think the subcommittee did a great job going through all those questions.
I think you're right. The subcommittee did put a lot of effort into that, and so I appreciate Karen. And, yeah, so, Michelle, so thank you very much. Okay. I'm sorry, what? No, me too, yeah, I know, I was there too. But you guys led it. I'm sorry, Christine, you want to say something?
Dave, I just have a question for Dr. Gorman regarding if there needs to be an extra day and it's taken off a spring break where we have the high school kids with health class, because they can only miss a certain amount of days, and say they have plane tickets somewhere. Is there any flexibility for those students?
Right, so exactly the same thing. So it's a case-by-case basis, and if they had prepaid flights and all that kind of stuff, then if they show that to the attendance appeal, committee, then that would be taken into consideration.
Thank you.
I think that's what I was alluding to before, when it did happen before, and the school was very accommodating for a lot of the parents when their children missed because they had vacation plans already. So, okay, could I get a roll call vote on this, please?
Mr. Rappaport?
Yes.
Dr. Cordolino?
Yes.
Mr. Daughtry?
Yes.
Mrs. Fano?
Yes.
Mr. Grau?
Yes.
Mr. Palma?
Yes.
Mr. Petrosino?
Yes.
Ms. Zuckerman?
Yes.
Dr. Modra?
Yes. Okay, there is no closed session. Any old business, real quick? Any old business? We have another meeting next week, so people can feel
I
free to
would
hold
just
on.
like to make a comment, if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
I'd like to thank Superintendent Dr. Gorman for his presentation tonight, and along with the individuals he named, Mrs. Slunt, Mrs. Marinello, for helping him prepare the chart. I think it was well received, and I think it's a good basis to move ahead.
Thank you.
And I'd like to thank you for that.
Thank you.
I'd also like to again give congratulations to Karen on her,
Not yet.
Not yet?
No.
Not yet, no?
but it will happen, I want to congratulate her before it happens. President of NJSBA, congratulations, Karen.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
David, if I may?
Yes.
I noticed in one of the communications sent out by Dr. Gorman that the golf team has started a Peter Porter Jr. golf outing. And I mean, I know there are some people in this room who remember Mr. Porter. He was an outstanding social studies teacher, very innovative, very engaging to the students, and he unfortunately passed away a number of years ago. So I was just particularly happy and, warmed my heart to see that there's a golf outing in his honor.
He was a very good man. He helped out the board a great deal. Okay, any other comments? Nothing? Motion to close?
So moved.
So moved. Second?
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry. We have one more public participation section. Oh, we have somebody, okay. Name and address.
This is on? Yes. Nadia Qureshi, 33 Crescent Road, Pinebrook, New Jersey. So obviously you all know what the revised calendar is looking like, so just wanted to know if you guys could share with us what that revised calendar would look like, and if it is for 2023-24 or 24-25, and what holidays will be included.
It's going to be on the website. It's going to be on the website.
Well, it will be, yeah.
Yeah, do you have a copy with you? Maybe you can share afterwards?
Yes, so we'll be celebrating the first Eid of each year, and we'll also be celebrating Diwali moving forward as well.
Okay,
And
thank you. So Eid al-Adha at this point will not be on the calendar, just?
That's the
Eid al-
second one, no.
That's the second one?
Correct.
Okay, so it'll just be the first one?
First
And
one,
so it's gonna be for 23, 24, and 24, 25?
correct, starting next year, correct.
Okay, great. Okay, and then after that, I guess for the 25, 26, would this kind of conversation happen again?
Well, it's, you're right, we always do the calendars 2 years in advance.
Uh-huh.
So, say around May, we bring up the calendar, and then we do the one 2 years in advance,
Okay.
and then the board votes on what the calendar's gonna look like.
Okay, so do we have to pitch this again in 2 years to continue to have it on the calendar?
I don't think so. I don't anticipate that
Okay.
as an issue.
Okay, all right, well, thank you so much, guys, for, taking everything into consideration, and I understand that accommodations had to be made, and we appreciate you accommodating.
Well, I also want to point out that, the community, the Montville community was also supportive of this. And a lot of thanks goes to them as well.
Okay, yeah, it was a community effort. Hopefully one day Eid al-Adha will be on, but I'll take it, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, motion.
Now a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, sir. Did you make a motion? You made a motion. Second? Oh, you did. Okay, good night, everyone. See you next week.